At yesterday's meeting between President Biden and Chinese President Xi Jinping, the Chinese dictator reasserted his resolve to overtake Taiwan and criticized what he referred to as futile U.S. efforts to contain China's ambitions. Quote, "The earth is big enough to accommodate both countries," he said, reflecting both his vision for China and a strident foreign policy approach. Well, given the Chinese dictator's ambitions, is the Biden administration equipped to adequately respond? And then, of course, we had the business community, CEOs of some of the top companies tripping over themselves to have dinner with President Xi. Joining me now to discuss this is Seamus Bruner. He's the Associate Director of Research at the Government Accountability Institute and author of the recently released book, Controligarchs. Seamus, thanks so much for joining us today. Good to see you again.
Good to see you, Tony.
So your thoughts on yesterday's meeting between President Biden and the communist dictator Xi Jinping?
Well, I think you absolutely nailed it in the intro there. The thing is, the Biden administration and these controligarchs in Silicon Valley tripping over themselves to have dinner with Xi at $40 a head, 40,000 that is. They don't want to decouple from China, obviously, based on their statements. No, they want to actually make the U.S. more like China. You saw that in the COVID-19 pandemic. They tried to copy the zero COVID policy, which was a total disaster, crushed our small businesses, and didn't stop the virus. You see it with the so-called disinformation censorship campaigns, where the big tech guys are deplatforming and censoring unapproved opposition voices. And so not only do they not want to decouple from China, that would be people like Tim Cook, Apple's CEO, or BlackRock's Larry Fink, but they want to bring us closer to a Chinese-style social credit score system. I mean, it sounds sort of crazy, but what I found and document in the book is that there are robust attempts to bring about a social credit score, just like they have in China. And so, no, it's failed. The attempt to make China like the West has failed, and it doesn't appear that they've even tried.
Yeah, just for the context for listeners and viewers, we go back to the 1990s, where the Chinese government was seeking most favored nation status in terms of trade with the United States, and corporations saying, "Yeah, we need to do this." They wanted access, obviously, to the Chinese market, but we were told we're going to change China. We're going to make it more in line with democratic values. Well, what we see, some 20 years later, 25 years later, is that corporations have become more like the Chinese Communist Party.
That's exactly right. And so President Biden's comments are total gaslighting and the talk of a level playing field. It's not true. China is also, sending fentanyl, and they have this TikTok data weapon. I mean, not only are we not competitors with China, barely adversaries, we're more like enemies, or at least the Chinese Communist Party is waging war on the middle and lower classes in America with the Biden administration's and Silicon Valley's acquiescence, or at least tacit approval.
So, Seamus, the dictator, Xi Jinping, was using, I think, the media here in the United States. I mean, this is, to me, it looks like a PR campaign. Some of the things that he was saying about, look, I would like to let you know that China sympathizes deeply with the American people, especially the young, suffering from that which fentanyl has inflicted upon them. I mean, what does he mean? They're the ones that are pushing this in, pushing it into the United States.
That's exactly right. Xi Jinping, the Chinese Communist Party, could end the fentanyl trade immediately. I mean, they're so efficient at locking down their citizens in their apartments during the COVID-19 pandemic. Are they trying to suggest, is Xi Jinping trying to suggest that he couldn't rout out the chemists who are making fentanyl and sending it to the United States? It seems unlikely.
So, was anything accomplished on behalf of the United States and our interest yesterday in this meeting between President Biden and Xi Jinping?
It does not appear that way, no. I mean, where is the reparations for the COVID-19 pandemic? China knew about the virus. They downplayed it. They kept it a secret much longer than they should have. They should have locked down travel to the world, but instead they locked down travel before the world knew about the virus within their own country, helping stop the spread there. But in effect, they exported it to the world. So, the trillions of dollars that the middle class in America and the small businesses have lost thanks to the pandemic, China should have to pay for that. And that's just a start.
I want to go back before we run out of time here to corporate America, because they are, many of them, now they've found a creative way to kind of partner with Chinese companies, so there's kind of a shield of protection from a PR standpoint, but they're still benefiting from China's slave labor with the Uyghurs and others.
That's exactly right. Whether it's Apple Computers, whether it's Nike with their factories over in China, whether it's Jeff Bezos's Amazon, they have all built enormous fortunes for themselves and for their companies at the expense of the Chinese people. And so this partnership, I mean, it is a deep partnership. Men like Bill Gates has helped the Chinese Communist Party censor journalists in its country with Skype, which is a Microsoft company, going back to other Microsoft products as well. So the partnership seems even more than financial, or at least they help China in ways that are non-financial in exchange for, like you mentioned, the cheap labor.
Right. Well, and there's something we can do about this as American citizens, is not buy Chinese products. I look at the label to see where this is manufactured, where it's coming from. And we have a responsibility, I believe, as consumers, to make sure we're not fueling this communist dictatorship that Xi Jinping is overseeing, that, quite frankly, I think is one of the greatest threats we face in America today. Seamus, I want to thank you for joining us. Always great to see you. Thanks so much for being with us.